Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. How are you today?
Morning, sir. I'm great.
And
Thank you.
I'm great.
Right, thank you. Today, we are going to discuss about a topic that we are already decided in previous week. That is, drug addict or drug user should be punished. Am I correct?
Correct, sir.
Yes, sir.
Before we start, let's introduce ourselves first. Starting with me. My name is Firza Tegar Febrian as your group leader. Next.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Naufal Zaki Cundoko as a member.
My name is Akbar Adi Sahputra as member.
Hello, I'm Herlin Pratiwi as a note taker.
My name is Naufal Adrian Bastomi as observer.
My name Andini Damayanti as a consultant.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for the introduction. Next, please allow me to explain about the function and the operation of our group. In our discussion group, it consists of a leader, members, a note taker, an observer, and last, a consultant. And every role have different job. And because there are only 6 people in our group, so we just have 2 members. But that's not a problem. Then there will be session for each role. In today's discussion, I will not give you a maximum of time for you to express your opinion. So take your time and relax. Don't be afraid to run out of time. Is it understandable?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's start the discussion, shall we? All right, first, I would like to share the definition of drugs. According to Wikipedia, drug is any chemical substance that causes a change in an organism's psychology and physiology when consumed. According to Australian Government Department of Health, drugs are substances that change a person's mental or physical state. In this world, there are several countries that legalize its people to consume drugs, but there are also several countries that prohibit its people to consume drugs. Countries that legalize drugs, there are Canada, Italy, Mexico, and Uruguay. Countries that prohibit drugs, there are Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, Uni Emirat Arab, and Philippines. In Saudi Arabia, drug users or drug addicts will be sentenced to prison and publicly canned. In Malaysia, anyone found in possession of at least 200 grams of marijuana or 15 grams of heroin is sentenced to death or at least sentenced to prison. In Uni Emirat Arab, not only dealers and smugglers, but drug users also receive severe punishments, even sentenced to death. In Philippines, drug users or drug addicts will be sentenced to prisons or sentenced to death. Regulation regarding convicted drug addicts should be punished are still pro and contra. So, based on my data that I gave to you, what is your opinion?
May I go first, sir?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much for the time, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, based on my point of view, there are still a lot of reasons that drugs addicts still deserve a second chance. Number one, as a human being, every single person in the world has the right to live freely. We cannot just take everyone's life because of drugs only. The second reason is, if we compare to some crimes against the law, drugs addicts mostly do not harm others.
Sorry, but
And okay, please let me finish, Mr. Akbar.
okay.
As I was saying, if we compare to some crimes against the law, drugs addicts mostly do not harm others, or at least they are not ruining the whole social system because they are harming themselves. Thank you very much.
All right, let me ask a question. What type of crime do you mean that you compare it to drug abuse?
Thank you very much for the question, sir. There's a lot of crimes that against the law. For example, corruption. The corruptor totally took other people's right. Other example is robbery. As we know that the robber also took something that wasn't belong to them. That's the crime that I meant.
All right, very well, sir. I agree with you. That is a very good opinion, very understandable. All right, next, Mr. Akbar, please. What is your opinion?
Yes, thank you, sir. According to Mr. Cundoko's opinion, that's true, but I think I'm not completely agree with Cundoko as in point two. If drugs don't hurt the other people, but if left alone, many people will use them and have fatal consequences because drugs have an addictive effect that make it difficult to stop.
Sorry for interrupting. Excuse me, Mr. Cundoko.
Yes, sir.
Could you turn off your phone and listen to Mr. Akbar's opinion, please?
Okay, sir. I'm sorry.
Yes.
That's my fault.
Okay, thank you. We are still in a discussion right now, so please turn off your phone and please, Mr. Akbar, continue your opinion. I apologize for the inconvenience.
It's okay, sir. As I was saying, drugs have an addictive effects that make it difficult to stop. Also, the idea of treating drug users as criminal comes from the fact they use are earned in the possession of drugs, which is by law are declared illegal. According to legal logic, anybody who use or is in possession of illegal things, be they drugs, is deemed law offender.
All right, let me get this straight. Based on your opinion, you are agree that drug addicts should be punished because according to legal logic, anybody who uses or is in possession of illegal things, be they drugs, is deemed a law offender. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Okay, thank you. Very great opinion from you, Mr. Akbar. I agree with you. Mr. Chandoko, please. You have opinion.
Okay, thank you for the time. Well, Mr. Akbar made a really good point, but I'd also like to add another reason for why the drugs addicts should not be punished. Another reason is they are just misguided person who chooses the wrong path to deal with their personal problems. Usually, drugs users are celebrities that have been created a lot of creative work. For example, they are an entertainer, actors, musicians. Because they are caught up with the drugs, their work became hated by society. And the last reason, people like them are the only way to cut off any drug spreading operation because they got experience on it. We can use them, we can make a team so that police can easily cut other drug dealers in this country. Thank you.
Okay, don't get me wrong. I agree the use of drugs, in my opinion, is okay if it's urgent and there are direction from experts like doctors. But the rules must be strictly followed because drugs have harmful effect and have continuous effect. And because of that, those who use them must be punished so they are deterrent.
All right, all right. Those are really impressive opinions from you, gentlemen. And I think that's enough for this session. Let's go to the next session. For the next session, note taker, observer, and consultant will convey all their notes, findings, conclusion, and suggestions regarding our discussion. For note taker, observers, and consultant, please, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Mr. Firza. I'm here as a note taker, and I will report the result of our discussion. The topic of this discussion is drug addict should be punished. First, Mr. Cundoko thinks that drug addicts still deserve a second chance because they don't harm others unlike the other crime like corruption and robbery. drug addicts are just misguided person who choose the wrong path to solve their own problems. And someone who do drugs are mostly celebrities like actors or actresses, entertainer, and musicians. Mr. Cundoko also thinks that people who has experience on it are the only way to stop the spreading of drugs. Then, while Mr. Akbar has an opposite opinion, he thinks that drug addicts may not harm people, but it will be fatal if left alone people who use it, because they will be addicted and hard to stop. Besides that, according to legal logic, anybody who use or is in possession in illegal things with a drug is deemed a law offender. Thus, the rules must be followed because drugs have harmful and continuous effect. So, in conclusion, I can say that Mr. Cundoko thinks that drug addict shouldn't be punished, but Mr. Akbar thinks that drug addict should be punished. That's all I can say. Thank you, and Mr. Naufal, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Miss Herlin. And I ask for prior permission to Mr. Firza as the chairman of the discussion to convey the finding that I found in this discussion.
Yes, please, Mr. Naufal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Firza. Okay, thank you, Mr. Firza. It has been good in conveying what will be discussed in this discussion, allowing the members to convey their respective roles. And thank you for guiding this discussion well. However, I would like to give a little correction, namely when explaining the definition of drugs. Mr. Firza uses source from Wikipedia. Wikipedia cannot be used as a reference because it's invalid and can be changed by anyone, even if the person is not an expert in his field. To Mr. Naufal Zaki Cundoko, thank you for your opinion. Your opinion is good, but it's better if you include strong source about the reasons why drugs can be used and drug users do not need to be punished. In addition, you also have to keep on attitude when you are in the discussion. You have to keep paying attention and respect when someone has opinion. All right. Now shift to Mr. Akbar Adi. All right, sir. You have been good at expressing your opinion as well. You still respect your interlocutor by keeping an eye on the opinions he says, even if you try to interrupt. But there's a little I need to correct. Your opinion is strong, reasonable, and based on facts. However, you are less added a valid and reliable source, such as source from mediation about the effects of dependence from drug use and legislation regarding drug prohibition. Those are some of findings I got at the discussion. Those are enough from me. Next to Mr. Andini. Next to Miss Andini. I'm sorry. Time is yours.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Naufal. There are two perspectives. As a consultant, I'm not in favor of anyone. Both sides have equally good opinions. On Mr. Cundoko's perspective, drugs addicts shouldn't be punished because they do not harm to others, and that's true. On Mr. Agwal's perspective, drugs addicts should be punished because it has an addictive effect that makes people who are using difficult to stop. Both Mr. Cundoko and Mr. Akbar have strong statements, and their perspectives of this topic are good. As a consultant, I decided that drug addicts should not be punished with the condition drug addicts should not be punished if they are over 21 years old, because people over 21 years old should already have mature minds. So, even if he or she took drugs, he or she would have known what the consequences would be. On the other hand, drugs can be used as medicine. So, can we sum up by saying that drug addicts should not be punished if he or she uses it for medicinal substances, provided that it must be with a medical record. Does everyone agree?
I agree.
Yes, agreed.
Yes, agree, madam.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Andini, Mr. Naufal, and Miss Herlin. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, we have reached a conclusion in our discussion today. So, for our discussion topic today, drug addicts should be punished. We agree that drug addicts should not be punished with some condition, like if they are over 21 years old, or if he or she uses it for medicinal substances, then they should not be punished. And next, I would like to say thank you. Thank you very much to all of you for your wonderful contribution to our discussion today. And discussion is closed. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi
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 wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.